Peace, family, and welcome to another episode of Underground Railroad Radio with your host, Brother Rich. I am joined once again from the Professor Griff and Sister Zaza Ali. What's happening, y'all?
Peace, peace.
Peace.
Good to have y'all back on the lines with me today.
All right.
A lot of things going on, in the news and everything right now. A lot of people talking about, we pretty much spent the whole year dealing with this subject of white supremacy, and it's ironic. Sister Zaza has this book she's coming out with, the Sister Black Matters, and we got this slogan going all around the world, in Tokyo and India and Africa and Paris and California, everywhere, called Black Matters. What's the slogan? Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter. So we got a lot going on. I recently, and to top it off, there's this movie out, Exodus, Gods and Kings. Now, I've been hearing about it for a while. Reverend Phil Valentine's been talking about it for a while. Then I seen everybody's been reposting this Instagram post that 50 Cent had with a fan of his or somebody that was on his page, and it kind of made me think about the whole Eric Garner, Michael Brown, and everything that's going on with the black man being looked at as a villain, and you got the officer referring to Michael Brown as Hulk Hogan, and he was scared for his life, and there's this fear and us being looked at as inferior. I want to read the post that, well, first of all, they talk about the movie Exodus, Gods and Kings. It's from Ridley Scott. The reason why people are mad is because the cast, they got Moses, they got Ramesses, they got all the important figures. This is in Egypt as white people. I'm talking about pure white people. In the movie, they got the thieves, they got the robbers, they got the servants, they got the assassins, they got the Egyptian lower class civilians. All of these are African guys. So everybody say, yo, this racism in the movie is racist. We need to boycott it. The actor Jesse Williams is saying, listen, man, don't go see this. You need to boycott it. So it just made me think about everything that's going on right now. To start out with my question, I'm going to read a post and then I'm going to make a comment. A sister wrote 50 Cent on Instagram. 50, everybody knows 50. Great businessman, makes his money, invested in several businesses. Posted a picture with him and Christian Bale. That's the actor from Exodus, Gods and Kings. The post from 50 says, me and Christian Bale, Exodus, Gods and Kings is a must-see. A sister wrote 50 on Instagram. Said, I would think you had more sense than to support this atrocity that denies the true history of our people and further perpetuates the asinine belief that whites can be the only true kings and queens and our people were only meant to be subservient. And it's not just a movie. It's these movies and overall misappropriation of our culture that fuels the minds of racists and validates their feelings of superiority, leading to hashtag Eric Garner, hashtag Mike Brown, hashtag Oscar Grant. The list is endless. Bottom line, you just became a part of the problem. 50 responded to her, and it was kind of, I'm not used to him responding to people. You know, you don't respond to them because people post all types of stuff. But I guess it kind of got to him. 50 responded to it and said, bitch, I didn't make the movie. I watched it. Take your soul sister ass number one to sleep. So my question to you to start out with, are people going too far when they look at movies like this, and this list are the Passion of Christ or, you know, all the slave movies that we've been bombarded with the last 2 years? Are we over-exaggerating when we could say a movie could influence an event like Oscar Grant or Sean Bell, or like she said, the list is endless. Are we just stretching a little too much? Does she need to take her ass to sleep, or is there a point here that's to be made and to connect everything we see going on in television right now? Is all of this intertwined and connected together? I'm gonna let you go ahead with that.
Well, to answer the overall question, yes, it is connected. Now, to deal with the 5 finer points that you made, let me just speak to what the young lady wrote. She's kind of out of pocket, but at the same time, she's telling the unmistakable, bold truth. You understand? Out of pocket, simply because if 50 Cent, what he said was he watched the movie. He didn't buy it. He didn't make it. He simply watched the movie. We make the mistake of holding the 50 Cent accountable for things that 50 Cent probably don't even know. Probably don't have the ability to speak as articulately as that sister spoke. Probably don't know half of what's going on. A lot of times when you get caught up into the music industry and entertainment industry, you're operating within inside of the bubble. Half of the time, you don't know what's going on in the world. But I'm saying that to say this. How could 50 Cent ignore hundreds of thousands of people around the globe protesting? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is he guilty of just taking a picture? Are we trying to hold him accountable and hold him to a standard that we would someone that has knowledge of self or whatever? I think that's kind of delicate right there, good brother. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But
right.
Let me answer the overall question once again. They make these kind of movies for just that purpose, to sway the thinking of the masses of the people. If not today, Brother Rich and Zaza, tomorrow. If not tomorrow, Brother Rich and Zaza, your daughter's son will be affected by it. Because now when we Google it and we pull up information about gods, kings, hashtag Egypt, hashtag Exodus, guess what comes up now? When we're dead and gone and long forgotten, our children's children will have to contend with the theft of African consciousness on a grand scale, because they're the ones that own this machine called the media. And let's stop thinking the media is just the evening news. All forms of media, online, offline, big screen, small screen, print, non-print, whatever medium, they control it. And we need to understand that. So when we're talking about shaping the hearts and minds and the thinking, and deeper than that, shaping the history. I think it was Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine that says, he who controls the past controls the present. He who controls the present definitely controls the future, because we can dictate what they read in the history books. You understand what I'm saying? This could be some people's introduction, if you're a young person, introduction to the whole idea of doing the remix to the Bible. This could be the extension of. This could be a movie that supports the fallacies and the madness that they put in the scripture. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's imperative that those of us that have the knowledge of what the Exodus story is actually about, all right, on an esoteric level, step forth and tell the story the way it needs to be told, and tell the truth of those particular characters in the Bible.
Peace, Brother Rich.
Peace.
Before I answer your question, I want to let you know you have some very salacious European listeners who, for whatever reason, have taken a liking to sending me very outlandish and insane things. I got a picture from somebody who listens to our interviews with you. A Caucasian man sent me a picture of himself in a body stocking. Yeah, it was very. I'll send it to you a little later, actually. But
I'm good on that. I'm good on that. Hey,
they're listening. They are definitely listening. Well, with that being said, just the title, Exodus, Gods and Kings, and then the images that you see that go along with that, goes a long way in telling, the media propaganda and how they use Hollywood to perpetuate white superiority and black inferiority, and based on a lie. You talked about the slave movies that have come out, of course, to counter in the world's mind this image of this strong black family, regardless of what you think of Barack Obama and his policies and him being a puppet or whatnot. the image that his family represents in the White House and around the world is something that is breaking a glass ceiling in the minds of our children everywhere. So to counter that, they have used Hollywood, like they've always used Hollywood, with having these slave movies and The Help and all of this type of stuff. And then you have movies like Exodus come out. Anybody who questions the power that media propaganda and Hollywood actually has should look at the movie Colors that came out. When did Colors come out? In the 80s. The Colors came out in the 80s. Before Colors came out, there was no mass Bloods and Crips all over the country, gangbangers representing red and blue. After that movie dropped, all across the country, gangs spread like wildfire. So when you have movies like Colors and Minister Society and New Jack City and Belly for perpetrating or reinforcing this, this thugged out, young black male culture that is being opposed on our young brothers, and because a lot of our young brothers don't have role models to look up to in their communities, they try to embody these characters. And then just the flip side of it, you remember Elizabeth Taylor played Cleopatra, which I think is quite funny. And Charleston, played Moses. Well, this movie is about Moses and him raising up against Pharaoh Ramses and setting 600,000 slaves on a monumental journey of escape from Egypt. That's, first of all, it's not even historically accurate. We cannot use the Bible as a history book. I tell people that all the time. Stop doing that. You're making a fool of yourself. Nobody kept better records than Kemet. So this is impossible or highly unlikely that this story actually took place and they didn't write about it. But why don't white people write stories about themselves when they were slaves? Because they were slaves. Why don't we see movies about white people when they were slaves?
Why don't black people write those stories?
Exactly. Exactly. Of course, we probably won't see that on the big screen, but the young up and coming actors who are or producers who are making YouTube movies and finding unorthodox ways to put their stuff out. Let's go back to the Hellenistic periods in Greece when white people were actually enslaving white people. Let's go back to Moorish Spain when black people came into Europe and actually civilized white people who didn't have baths, who didn't have running water, who were completely savage. The kings and queens in certain areas of Europe were actually living out of barns. So why don't we, use Hollywood to tell that actual history? The Greeks going and sitting at the feet of the pharaohs in Kemet. You want to talk about gods and kings? Let's talk about that. So to answer the original question, of course they're using these movies to perpetuate white superiority and black inferiority. Otherwise, they wouldn't be telling lies. Tell the truth. Tell the reality of what the European was before they came in contact with our people. But they have to spin it and put themselves in our shoes in order for especially our young people. Elijah Muhammad said of all of our studies, history is most qualified to reward our research. You couldn't tell me anything when I learned out who we really were and what our real true history was. And then finding out who Europeans really were and what they really came from. So this is the information and the knowledge that will spark that God consciousness in our young people. And they have to keep this myth of white people always being the superior race and us always being the inferior race intact. They have to.
When a person looks at the map, any person that looks at a map, they will see that Egypt is a part of Africa. So on the continent of Africa.
Right.
Why, just like with this movie, they say it takes place in the Middle East, why do they always refer, for those the younger listeners that's listening, anybody, matter of fact, that's listening, why do they always refer to Egypt as the Middle East when it's clearly, you teach little kids, okay, draw within the line. If they draw within the line of Africa, Egypt is within the line. Why do they always, they're telling us basically that our eyes are deceiving us. So why do they constantly say Egypt is part of the Middle East and not Egypt is part of Africa?
I think, Brother Rich, simply because when you look at the whole idea of the lie that's been perpetuated and told to young whites, when they talk about whites circumnavigating the globe, and notice we only get, 3 stories, Zaza? Leif Erikson, Christopher Columbus, and I'm hard-pressed to come up with the other one. I ain't been in high school in a long time. The other explorers. I'm talking about global ones. I can't. You're hard-pressed, Brother Rich. You have 2 people here that study history, so we're hard-pressed to even come up with the third name. Maybe you could help us. But you don't find too many stories about these particular global explorers, simply because, you're talking about a people, Brother Rich, who thought that the earth was flat. First of all, I know you're trying to hold your laugh in, Brother Rich. Don't worry about it. You talk about a people who thought that the earth was flat. So when you're talking about the whole idea of even knowing the 196,940,000 square miles, it is so vast, Brother Rich, and their narrow-minded ass thinking, they couldn't even fathom the earth being round. They couldn't even fathom studying the vast depth of what the earth holds, much less the earth sitting in a universe. Brother Rich, when I was coming up as a youngster, the way they taught us, I thought that the earth was the center of the universe. And it's not. I found that out a lot later on when I started studying on my own. The way they come across in the history books and when they talk about themselves, they make it seem like there's no other life forms in the universe. Like no other planet could possibly have life forms other than Earth. Stop that arrogant-ass white people. If you've got an issue with that, my phone number is 678-557-2919. We can take their history books, Brother Rich, and prove to them how limited knowledge that they have in reference to geography. So when we ask the question or answer the question, why do they take Egypt and not make it part of Africa, Brother Rich? When we go back to the tectonic or the teutonic plates, meaning when the earth was one big, gigantic landmass, all right, we can look at that part of the region of the earth when the teutonic plates broke apart, and we can see that Egypt is definitely a part of Africa. Now, you asked the question, why? Simply because I think in Walter Williams' book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, I believe it talked about how the civilizations went, as far as the rulership is concerned, went from black to brown to yellow, I believe, then to white. And in dealing with that, Brother Rich, they had to make that vast majority of knowledge, information, and the wealth of knowledge coming from that particular area, they had to prescribe that to white people and white people only. When, if truth be told, they were the invaders.
And, Brother Rich, to add on to that, if you look at Egypt right now, Kemet originally, which means the land of the blacks, but if you look at it right now, it's predominantly white Arabs. And I think that, even if you look online at any of the, I watched the DVD, the lectures and whatnot dealing with, Egypt being originally black and Nubia and Kush and all of that, these white Arabs and white people come on and challenge the information and get real haughty and upset. It's almost blasphemous to say that this was a black people, because first of all, looking at Egypt right now, you would never think. It's like looking at America right now. This country is 69, 70% white. You would never think that this land, 500 years ago wasn't white, but it wasn't. There were no white people in sight. It was a black nation. Now, when I say black, I'm talking about the original Native Americans, and I'm talking about our original people who were already here. So looking at Egypt right now, it looks nothing like it looked 3, 5, 7, 10,000 years ago. So we have to keep that in mind. And then you have these Egyptologists like Zahi Hawass, who was world-renowned for taking the stance of this being, you know, an Arab culture, not in words, but in, you know, it's implied that this was a white Arab culture. So the Nile at the northern tip, not the southern tip, because the Nile runs upwards, not downwards. But the people who were the original inhabitants of Kemet or Egypt are the Nubians. And they are still now being depressed and being repressed and being oppressed and moved out of that area and have been moved down to the southern areas of Egypt. So what I always ask people is, if Europeans and, you know, Arabs, white Arabs, were able to build that in Kemet at that time, why haven't they gone anywhere else and replicated that? Why don't we see pyramids or iconography, if that's the word I'm looking for, and architectural feats outside of what they took from Egypt and put it around the world? They can't. They still haven't properly deciphered the hieroglyphics, and they still haven't been able to repeat the pyramids. So, you know, I've had people tell me that Carthage was actually in Rome. A sister who had a degree from a college. So when you study European history, and that's all that American United States history is, regardless of who they're talking about, it's them retelling their story. You would actually think that Carthage is Roman land. No, it's just a land that they actually conquered. You can look at a map and tell that. But it speaks volumes about how dumb the masses of the people have become, because you can look at a map and tell that Egypt is in Africa. Well, no, it's because this and it's because of that. No, stop. Europeans can't survive that type of climate. That's common sense. So it's up to us, and I applaud Red Pill, Blue Pill, and the brothers and sisters who have taken art type of, you know, stances, T-shirts and, you know, coloring books and whatnot, to take back our history, because it's ours, and we need to stand strong on that to let the young people know we do have something powerful and prestigious as far as history.
Hashtag, when I was doing some research for this movie, there was a hashtag going around, boycott Exodus movie. And I noticed that there were a lot of white people on Twitter that were saying that this movie supports the system of white supremacy and the idea of white superiority. I was at me and Blue Pill. Yeah, me and Blue Pill was at the Eric Garner rally in New York City about a week ago. And we noticed, you know, there was a lot of white protesters there. Whether they had ulterior motives or not, I don't know. But what I do know was that there was a lot there. With some with signs that said, a lot with signs that said Black Lives Matter. Some with signs that said white silence equals white complicity. I forget exactly. I'm gonna put the picture up when I say this, but there was a lot of signs dealing and talking about white supremacy and about white privilege and white guilt and all of that. My question to you is, with a movie like this and everything that's, because it's all connected, this movie and everything that's going on right now, do you think that the general population of white people are waking up to the system of white supremacy that Francis Cress Welsing used to talk about 20, 30 years ago, and the system and white privilege? Do you think that they're waking up to the system? What do you think about that?
I think that there's always been a small minority group of white people, be they vocal or non-vocal. There's always been that group of white people that have never went along with the lie. Whether some of us want to put on a cheerleader shirt and give them credit, or call their names and write them in the history books, right along with John Brown and some other people. I don't know, and I don't really care about that. But I know there's always been a small group of white people, and you run into them every now and then, Brother Rich. They don't care nothing about this system. They will unravel the lies. There are some very intelligent, smart white people. When 9/11 happened, you've seen these same individuals come out of the woodworks. We cannot deny the Gary Webbs, the Mike Ruperts, Jordan Maxwell's, even to some degree, Alex Joneses of the world, the David Ikes. We could go on and on. Those white people that dared to speak up and speak against aspects of racism, white supremacy. There's always been that small group there. Those are the children of those ones that you've seen out carrying the signs. As Abe Muhammad pointed out over the weekend, you didn't see any signs that said cops need to be retrained. Mm-hmm. Right? Cops need sensitivity training. Whatever. You've seen bold, unmistakable signs speaking against this particular racist system that we live under. And it's very clear. Some cases, Brother Rich, I was seeing the sign, and then when I clicked on the picture to see who was holding the sign, some cases it was very shocking to see that young white girls were holding signs making these bold statements against the system. So, Brother Rich, I think, as Dr. Frances Cresswell Singh says in her definition of racism, white supremacy, it's whether consciously or subconsciously determined, Brother Rich. And you're right. Some of them are doing it just to kind of do it. Some of them want to be a part of something and don't know what to be a part of. Some of them have grew up among black people and they feel for black people. Now, Brother Rich, the test and the real question becomes, what happens when all of this die down and they fade back into their whiteness? Are they going to continue to support the quote unquote black cause? And let me get something straight up. You, me, and Zaza need to be on the same page with this. When we're talking about the Exodus story, we have to mention the fact that the Jews went back in and rewrote aspects of that particular story and wrote themselves into our history. Right here it says the story of God's, talking about Exodus now, the story of God's deliverance of the Jews from Egypt. Never goddamn happened. Never happened, Brother Rich. It never happened. Then they have a picture here that says the image released by 20th Century Fox shows Christian Bale in a scene from Exodus, Gods and Kings, and it has him throwing up the Black Power sign. See, there's so many subliminal messages in this, Brother Rich, and at the back, in the subconscious mind of the average white person who bought into the lie that the Jew put in the Exodus story will fall for it hook, line, and think that this is an entire story of the triumph of God's deliverance of the Jews out of Egypt at the hand of a wicked Pharaoh. And it never actually happened, Brother Rich.
Well, I agree with everything that Griff said, and there's been a lot of people in this country, specifically for me, I know because I've been studying chemtrails and HARP and genetically modified food, and there's a lot of white people, everyday average people, who have turned into scientists just trying to keep up with the war that the elites, quote unquote, if you will, have waged on humanity. All people. So, I tip my hat to them, and I always say this because they laid the basis for me to even know what trail to follow. These are people who I study adamantly. Griff named some of them. There's a white guy named Cliff Carnicorn. I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but he's an adamant student of chemtrails and was very important for me as far as my studies. Yes, we applaud and appreciate all of the whites and different races and nationalities who are standing up and who are tired of police brutality and who know what happened to Eric Garner, as well as Mike Brown and other of our people was dead wrong. I'm going to say that, and then now I'm going to pivot because this is only the tip of the iceberg. We have been screaming as a people for a long time about racism, white supremacy, and most white people have been standing back and telling us, no, it's not that bad. We're so much better off than you were 200, 300, 5 years ago. Stop complaining. You have it better. Look at the rest of the world. So, we've been screaming this at the top of our lungs. Now they've got a little glimpse, a very small glimpse into what it's like to be black in America. But now, are we ready to address the racism in corporate America? Are we ready to address the racism in education and the connection that has to black male incarceration and black-on-black violence? What happened in Hurricane Katrina, when our people were standing on rooftops swinging T-shirts and writing on top of their roofs, begging and pleading for help? Where was the rest of the world then? There's hundreds of thousands of our people who are going missing. The hiring policies in corporate America, the prison industrial complex, Trayvon Martin walking down the street with a hood, brothers who walked up and down the street every day with hoods and maybe baggy jeans on. See, the conversation becomes, well, he was a felon, so his life didn't really matter. Or he had been in trouble before, so, Eric Garner is kind of borderline because, yes, he's been in legal trouble before, but it was all petty kind of stuff. What happens when it becomes the brother who, did a 10-year bid and then he comes up dead? Are you going to ride for him? So and then what happens when us as a people start to discuss separating? We want our own land. We want our own territory in this country. We want to be paid back reparations for hundreds of years of free labor. How many of those liberal white people are going to support us in that? When we start separating ourselves from homosexuality, no, we don't want no parts of that. That's not for our people. How many liberal Europeans are going to ride with us for that? When we start separating ourselves from eugenics and teaching our young people about abortion and being anti-abortion, not anti-abortion, pro-life. When we start teaching our children about why they're building abortion clinics in black communities and have been building them there, and we start teaching our people to say no to Planned Parenthood, how many liberal white people are going to be with us then? When we turn our backs on feminism and teach our sisters that we don't have to take on the white woman's way of thinking and the white woman's way of life, we need to go back to Ma'at, which is fighting that same fight that we fight for women, that we fight for our men. How many liberal white people are going to be with us then? So I applaud and I am thankful because we need all hands on deck right now to deal with this justice-less system. But at the same time, black people, don't get it twisted. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And when we pull the skirt all the way up or pull the cover all the way off of racism, white supremacy, then that's when we really gonna start having the real conversations about media, about politics, about every different facet of this society and how it has been geared against us. Francis Cress Welsing said there has never been a time since we stepped foot on this land where our people have not been under attack. So Eric Garner and Mike Brown are nothing new. But we live in an information age now where everybody can readily, see these things. So it is having an impact. But this is not anything new. We've learned to live with this. How many of us are ready to destroy the system of racism, white supremacy? All races. That's my question.
With this movie and the brainwashing that continues to go on in Hollywood and television as well as, it's called programming for a reason. But, with this movie and this image of white superiority and black inferiority or black, they got to, the only time you see a black person in the movie, they're the assassin, they're the robber, they're the crook, they're the bum, they're the slave, whatever. With us being fed that programming constantly, a lifetime of that programming, do you think this programming extends beyond white people, even to everyday people like myself, Griff, Zaza? Now, I asked that because I interviewed a brother at the Eric Garner rally in New York, and the brother was 6'3". So I told the brother, I said, listen, this march that they're having here, this protest, you know, it's really for brothers that look just like you. So how do you feel being here? Because everybody can say what they say, but, you know, when you see Sean Bell, when you see Eric Garner, when you see this quote-unquote Hulk Hogan image, brother, you 6'3", so I want to get your opinion. And how do you walk around in this country? So the brother told me, you know, he had a friend that used to walk around with a double consciousness, and that he will always try to make himself feel less threatening to others because he was aware of the programming that was going on in society. So he would always try to brush his hair a little harder, wear a little extra cologne, speak a little more proper English, just to make himself feel less threatening. The brother ended up getting killed by the police anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, I got the clip on my YouTube. It's the Eric Gardner rally. Me and Bluefield was down there.
Okay.
Yeah. My question to you, Griff, have you ever, and to Zaza as well, I guess it's different because you're a male and she's a female, but I have found myself before, Griff, walking down the street, a person may be walking by late at night, then all of a sudden it's like automatic. All of a sudden I take off my hoodie subconsciously to tell the person that I'm not a threat. And I had to catch myself one day like, hold up, what the fuck? Did I just take off my hoodie subconsciously to let this person know that I'm not a threat? We both walking out, but it's like subconsciously like, hey, man, you can see them, you can see sort of a tenseness in them. Some more of it when it's a female. And you're just telling them, listen, man, I'm not harmful. It's late at night, I'm just walking down the block. So we often talk about it affecting the psyche of, you know, white people and them benefiting from white privilege and, you know, but when it hits a person, when it hits home, when it hits yourself, it's like, you know, and you've studied for so many years. I mean, this probably happened when I was about 25, 26. And I had to realize, you know, that this was a subconscious reaction. It was just automatic. I didn't even realize what I was doing. And I had been studying for years already, and I'm like, damn, I gotta do something about this. But has it ever affected you to that extent, Griff? Or even Sister Zaza, has it affected you where even you was a little more scared walking down the street seeing your brother opposed to seeing a person of the opposite sex? And, you know, just to elaborate personal stories, so I'm just curious and, you know, just to see how much this has affected us, because I know this system has done a job on all of us, and this is just something me personally I had to learn about. So it was interesting hearing the brother speak about it. But go ahead, yeah.
No, I think, Brother Rich, that particular dynamic has affected all of us in some kind of way. I think when I was younger, the opposite happened to me. I would just get out of white people's way, because I just thought they was evil. So you understand what I'm saying? So
right,
it wasn't the fact that me trying to make them feel like I'm less threatening. I was just scared as hell of them, and I wanted to get out of their way because I just thought they was just straight up devils and they was evil. There was just no good in them. That I did not have to. No one had to sit me down and teach me that. Overhearing the conversations with my older brothers and sisters, overhearing the conversations with my mom and my aunties and my uncles about white people's behavior, just made me terrified of them at a young age. Until I grew up and started studying in my later teenage years, I figured out who they really are. You understand what I'm saying? But I think subconsciously, I think you're absolutely correct. I think in ways I do try to make it seem as though I'm not the big black brute that you probably have lodged in the back of your subconscious mind and where you're thinking that all black men are. But, Brother Rich, we have to understand something about racism and white supremacy. Whether they're looking at a 4-year-old child or a 40-year-old grown man, they think the same about us because of the idea of melanin. So they subconsciously they think that we can successfully genetically annihilate them by that genetic material that lies in us. So we pose a threat regardless of whether we have the hoodie on or fucking high waters. It don't matter.
Right.
Whether we have nerdy glasses on or the Bobby Brown Gumby. You understand what I'm saying? Surprisingly enough, and I'm saying this to all the black men that have put on skirts, dresses, and carrying man purses right now, regardless of your glorified, sissified way that you're acting right now, to a large degree, you still pose a threat to white people. As much as you try to come off and play the feminine part, white people still look at you as a threat. They still don't want you marrying their daughters. So, Brother Rich, subconsciously speaking, I think on both sides of the fence, we know we pose a threat to white people regardless of how we dress. So if we dress up in the three-piece suit and we're well-dressed and we very articulate, very mannerable, non-threatening looking, we still pose a threat to white people because they're scared of the well-dressed, informed, intelligent black man. Whether we dress up in just straight-up hood gear, which they sell us, we still a threat. So regardless of how we dress, Brother Rich, regardless of whether we speak the King's English or profound slang or the all-important Ebonics, some of us are bilingual, Brother Rich, and we speak fluent Spanish like we speak fluent English. We still pose a threat to them. And I think we need to understand these particular different variables and these particular dynamics. I'm saying all that to say this, Brother Rich. There's no hiding from yourself. Regardless of where you go when you come in contact with white people, they already have it in their mind that, A, we have something that they want, which is melanin. We have something that we want to get back from them, which is all the riches that they've stolen from our people throughout the annals of history. All right? They walk around with this guilt complex because they know what their people's people have done to us. And they have to continuously tell this lie on the big and the small screen about black people and the rest of the people on the globe being inferior. I think Zaza used to say this all the time in quoting Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Those people that have to keep running around saying that I'm superior, I'm superior, I'm superior, are probably not really feeling superior, Brother Rich. That they're the inferior people. And they have to tell these lies in these movies called Exodus to prove that particular point. Now keep in mind, Brother Rich, this is a story taking from the greatest story ever told, which is supposed to be the Bible. I say, Brother Rich, it's the greatest story ever sold.
You know, I'm really, 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 really glad you asked that question, Brother Rich, because it goes right back hand in hand with what I was just talking about as far as, you know, really just pulling the cover all the way off of racism in this country. Yes, I have been in situations. Let me just say, just from the perspective, because I have internalized, you know, the pain of our brothers. Throughout my life, I saw my father in his struggles and my uncles and, you know, just brothers that I came up with, seeing so many black men get killed, murdered in the streets, seeing brothers turn to drugs because they couldn't deal with the pain, just, you know, seeing all the different facets of our brothers. And I have seen not only our brothers, particularly our brothers, but us as a people, I have seen, yeah, I used it the right way. You used it the wrong way. But I have seen our people shrinking to make other people in this world feel comfortable. Shrinking, dimming our lights, not being as proud and as strong and as bold and as intelligent and as brilliant, as wonderful and as amazing as we can be, because we're scared of threatening and making other people feel uncomfortable. Now, let's look at what's happening right now. We are now doing die-ins. A die-in equates to death. We now have our people, along with other people, but in honor or in respect or in defense of our people, laying out in the street in the most helpless position that you as a human being can put yourself in. We have our children laying in the streets with their hands up, saying, hands up, don't shoot, and I can't breathe. This is us subconsciously, again, showing the world that we are not a threat. My hands are up. I'm not a threat to you. Well, what if your hands are down? Put your hands down, is what I said the other day, and make these people respect you as you are. We need to stop teaching to having our children saying, I can't breathe. No, give the brothers and sisters and the young people the life in order for them to be able to breathe outside of the system. We need to build ourselves up outside of the system of racism, white supremacy. So I told the young brothers when we were in Charlotte, North Carolina the other day, they're scared of you because when you walk in the room, they see God. Not because you just are this overwhelmingly, so they're telling the world this whole black group,
right.
strong, ape kind of thing. No, but in their minds and in their hearts and in their beings, they will always reject black men because they see God. So here we are, and we can't deny the aspect of history of Emmett Till, just speaking to a white woman, whatever the situation was, getting beat to a pulp, and all of the young people, the young brothers who were coming up at that time, who grew up to be men, fearful of the system of racism, white supremacy, who reciprocated that fear through their children. I'm reading a book right now called Sundown Towns by an author named James Lowen. He's a white man who wrote this book. And I was reading today, this one family moved into this city called Cicero, Illinois. I hope I'm saying the city right. Cicero, Illinois. So this was a predominantly probably 98% white community. He moved his family into this city. Do you know that the night he moved in, the people threw rocks, kicked in doors to the apartment complex. The next day, 3,500 people were outside of this family's house, enraged, just because they were there. Police were there. I mean, it became a big event. They ended up storming the apartment complex, going into the house, throwing all of their furniture out the window, and setting everything on fire. So this is generations of fear and inferiority that has been inflicted on our people, and they've been reteaching their society that black men are not to be trusted, are lazy, are weak-minded, are good for nothing, and will rape our women. So, yes, mentally, these people have this idea of what black men are. But you don't see brothers being serial killers. Well, you watch this stuff that comes on TV about some of the stuff that these white men do, cannibals and raping their mothers and all of this savage behavior. Yes, we have issues with black-on-black crime, but we have limits. There is a spirituality and an essence about us where certain lines just are not going to cross.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So to the brothers, my message, especially to the young brothers, every time I'm in your presence, I want to remind you, they don't see thug, they don't see nigga, they don't see brute, they see God. And it scares the hell out of them because they know when you're on the same stage as them, I don't care how much money you have, i.e. Donald Sterling, I don't care what your position is in this world, you can't hold a candle to the brothers.
With everything going on, and all the backlash that this movie Exodus, Gods and Kings received, do you see the system crumbling right before your eyes? What do you see what's going on as something a step forward to us exposing the system, or is it what do you see what's going on right now?
That's a very interesting question, Brother Rich, and I'm going to answer this and be very, very, very brief. The system has been crumbling, Brother Rich. America has been for sale. Bridges, ports, borders, all that's being sold already, man. You understand what I'm saying? multinational corporations and other governments and other people own aspects of America. This weekend, Ava Muhammad went over, I think, the Forbes top 400, of the richest people in America. Not Americans, but that are in America, with the vast majority of their money on offshore bank accounts, Brother Rich. So they care nothing about America. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a progress that's being made, but it's very quiet. It's very hidden. You understand what I'm saying? I think black people are making progress because the vast majority of us are waking up now. You can't ignore certain things that's going on. Back in the day, it was like, oh, man, that's that black-ish. Now that black-ish has become common conversation, normal conversation, everyday conversation. And I think the internet has a lot to do with that, but a lot of people are waking up. You understand what I'm saying? I've seen different people and different kinds of people in certain audiences that me and Zaza speak to. We went to Reno, and that audience was comprised of some of everybody. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of people are calling me and texting me, and we're having that conversation now, and they're starting to understand. I was sitting at the mall today with a 17-year-old who just turned 18, and he was going through this whole diatribe, man, about how he's trying to get his mom and dad to understand that, songs that J. Cole make inspire him, to be a better person. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
That conversation is going on. So, Brother Rich, their world, their existence, their power is crumbling. But the question becomes, Brother Rich, are we as a people making progress as their world crumbles?
Right, that's what I was going to say. It's, Elijah Muhammad wrote about the fall of America, in the 1950s? Did that book come out? 50s or the 60s?
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely crumbling. And it's by design because they have to, I'm talking about the elite or the powers that be, they have to shrink this society in order to bring about the world that they want to bring about. But I'm with Griff. Yes, this world is crumbling, but what are we building in the process so that we don't crumble with it? We on a boat.
Okay.
We're on the Titanic. You know what I'm saying? And we've hit the iceberg, and the water is slowly leaking out. We have hours or years or however long we have, but we know what is about to take place. What are we doing in order to safeguard ourselves, from crashing with the boat? Because most of us are going to go down right with it. How many of us are actually thinking about creating grocery stores and, bartering systems and places where our people can go in times of disasters and things like that? Just think, me and Griff were talking earlier, we can't even think outside of these people's world. We can't even think about what it would be like for us to have to rule ourselves, to wake up every day and make decisions for ourselves, to get up and not have a job and not have to punch a time clock. Okay, what am I going to do today to feed my family? That's how we have to start thinking, because it's not a question of if it's going to crumble, but when.
I want to take this time to thank you, too, for coming on the show. It's been another amazing show. I got it here. Exodus, Gods, and Kings, man. Just another, we've been bombarded with them the last 2 years. I guess like Sister Zaza said, they had to counter that image when Barack got in office, because they've been pretty relentless with slave movies and, Christ movies and Moses movies and all of that. So, hey.
Yeah, but Rich, we have to keep in mind it's been a constant bombardment on not only the census. We had sensory, we had extra white Jewish sensory overload. You understand?
Extra white.
No, I'm not saying that to be funny, and I don't want Jewish people to take it the wrong way. Matter of fact, let me take that back. I don't want dumbass Negroes to take it the wrong way. Defending Jewish people. But Jewish people have never come out and confront me face to face. The dumb Negro will stand between me and the Jew and try to defend them. I'm talking about overly white Jewish sensory overload. When they talk about Jesus, they want to make sure to let you know that Jesus was a Jew. When they talk about Moses, they want to let you know that Moses was a Jew. They're talking about freeing the people and parting the Red Sea and all this kind of stuff. They want you to know that this was about Jewish people. All lies. And we spit in the face of all of our scholars that can disprove this madness. All of them. The Runoko Rashidis, the Ashwa Quasis, the Dr. Benz, Dr. John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima. All of the ones that we can name and the ones we can't name that dispel this madness. Matter of fact, some of their scholars and filmmakers have made documentary films. Check out Caesar's Messiah.
They
invented this character called Jesus. Mm-hmm. So when we come across Brother Rich and we present the information, it don't even make the Jew boy upset. It makes the goddamn Negro upset. Because he see his master's house now crumbling. And he's going to get water and pissing on the house to keep it from burning down. And this is sad, man. Oh, hold on.
Brother Rich, let me say something real quick to the young people who are looking at this Exodus, kings and queens, and hearing us talking about kings and gods or peasants and peons, and hearing us talking about, we're just talking about it. They're putting it out as a visual, which, visual images go way beyond, what we could talk about in this conversation. But there is a book called Nile Valley Contribution to Civilization by Anthony Browder. You should definitely have that book in your library. Young people, especially you. Any book by Ivan Van Sertima from African presence in early Asia to Nile Valley civilizations. What else? Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. Anything by Dr. Ben. Last name is Jochannan. Who else? There was one more down here there's a book called When We Ruled by Robin Walker. All of this book is so beautiful and eloquent because she puts the images. There's no mistaking who these original rulers were. When We Ruled is another one. And Cheikh Anta Diop, I definitely recommend his work. Brothers and sisters, there is too much information. You should be YouTubing Ashra Kwesi and looking at his videos. You should be studying ancient Nubian and Cushitic civilizations, Africans in Asia. What's the brother's name? Eugene Adams. Go to YouTube and look these people up. Look Africans in Asia up. Look up Ivan Van Sertima. Look up Ashra Kwesi. There's too much information. We got to take our history back because they're going to keep playing these games. So like I told the brothers and sisters when we were in North Carolina, we can sit back and talk about, white people lying, white people saying this is their history and it's not. But how many of us can actually sit down and school them on the reality of who we were? Right. Talking about the pharaohs, talking about the kings, actually knowing this history, not just saying it because it sounds good when it comes from your lips.
And not only that, Brother Rich, the deception is not only for black people, it's for their own children. This becomes their history. This becomes their truth. We could talk about this for days, Brother Rich. I'm sorry we're going on.
I appreciate the passion, man. I want to give the people. Do you have anything coming up? That's number one. And number two, please give the people any contact information and all the crazy white people out there sending pictures of Zaza. Cut it out. Get a life, get a wife, get something, but please, just cut it out.
Right.
But please,
right. Zaza said, leave her alone, man.
Oh, man.
But ain't that something, Brother Rich? Out of all of this stuff that we're saying, the best the white man could do is send Zaza a naked goddamn picture.
This little 1-inch killer.
It's sad, man. It's sad.
Poor white people. But listen, we're going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. We're doing a lecture entitled A Mental Genocide, Black People and European Holidays, in reverence to our good brother, Ishaka Musa Barashango. That's Saturday, 12/27/14. That's Saturday, December 27th. All right? At the Sweet Spot. They could just call me, 678-557-2919. That's 678-557-2919 to get more information. That's A Mental Genocide, Professor Griff and Zaza Ali, we're going to be dealing with these black people and European holidays. We got to dispel that myth, Brother Rich, of these people connecting us to their wicked holidays, man.
Definitely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Yeah, we're going to be in D.C. on Capitol Heights. We're going to be in Capitol Heights, not D.C., but Capitol Heights at Everlasting Light on the 20th. That's Everlasting Light in Capitol Heights on 4 o'clock on the 20th. All right, so give me a call, 678-557-2919, to get more information about both of those lectures. But, Brother Rich, we're there at Enemy Minds Radio on Facebook and YouTube at Enemy Minds TV. They shutting Facebook pages down like left and right, Brother Rich. I don't know if they came and got you yet, but just to be expecting it, brother. They're letting you know in a minute they're going to start charging people to be on Facebook.
Wow.
When I say charging you, I'm talking about that implantable biomicrochip in your hand, wave it over your computer, and that's the only way you're going to be able to get in.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got this whole thing called net neutrality is about to kick in. They're going to start charging you for emails, how many accounts you have. They're locking all of that down as we speak right now, man. So we better do what we can do to get this information across and start securing our own servers and our own sites. You understand what I'm saying? And our own way to communicate through the virtual African grapevine.
Right.
That's I don't even have my Facebook page is still shut down. They asked me to send them some information to verify who I am. I sent it, so we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I am on Enemy Minds Radio on Facebook. And, of course, our radio show comes on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The website is blogtalkradio.com/mindsmatter, MINDZMATTER. And trust and believe we know that they are listening to our show, that they are seeing the impact that we are having on the people. They're listening to us on your show, and they are going to keep trying to find ways to shut us down. So our website hopefully will be up in January. We are working on that right now so that we can keep in contact with our people and keep the vessel for truth and knowledge, wisdom, and understanding open. And, of course, we always love and appreciate you, Brother Rich, for those crazy white people that listen to you, as well as the young, the young man. I'm telling you, this is having such an impact on people. You have no idea, brother. Everywhere we go, people are like, man, something you said, something y'all said is having an impact, brother. So, you the vessel. So we got to tip our hats to you and thank you for the platform.
This is Brother Rich, Underground Railroad Radio, and we are signing out. See y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.